Good morning, or depending when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of voice for radio. So today, I'm going to be showing you a lovely new Pokemon V, which has an awful lot of potential. It's Galarian Cursola V, and you probably won't be shocked at this stage to learn that the translation comes from our wonderful friend, the lovely Antoine Boulet. So what do we see? Well, 190 HP on a Pokemon V is low. We generally expect over 200 here, only seeing 190. It puts it down with stuff like Victini V. Ugh. It's not good. Low HP for a 2-prize Pokemon V. Boo, etc. Retreat cost of 2 means you can use Air Balloon for free retreat. Resistance to fighting is good, or at least would be if we had any good fighting Pokemon right now. Apparently we don't. And the weakness to darkness, I'm going to be honest with you, it's not great. Because we've just seen that Crobat V is coming along, and that's Redonk. And even though we're using that for the ability, which is just Shaman but limited to once per turn, it still does for 2 energy, 70 damage plus poison, which is not going to be good against stuff like this. And also we saw that Eternatus V and V Max are out, and they look kind of phenomenal. So frankly, ladies and gentlemen, you should not be terribly excited about the weakness here. This weakness is going to come back to bite you. Yeah, we don't like the weakness. So with low HP and a bad weakness, we're going to need something good about this. Now, being a psychic Pokemon is good, but actually Malamar's rotating out, so you're not going to have that anymore. And Spell Tag's really good for dropping damage counters when you're KO'd, but that's rotating out. You're not going to have that anymore. Oh, we still have Mysterious Treasure to search you out. No, that's rotating as well. Yeah, psychic Pokemon are being hit harder by the rotation than basically any other typing. So when you're losing all your best tricks, you've got low HP, and you've got a bad weakness, something good must be here. Well, the good news is there is something good here. The ability. As long as this is your active Pokemon, whenever your opponent attaches an energy from their hand to one of their Pokemon, place 3 damage counters on that Pokemon. Ooh. That's kinda tasty. Now, here's the thing. This is not a unique ability, and I need to be really, really careful here. Because every time we see a Pokemon with an ability like this, I get really excited. We saw that the Jolteon that came around in Hidden Fates had a very similar ability. Although actually it was only 2 damage counters, but it had free retreat, which kinda helped. And we saw that the Gengar from Crimson Invasion had this same ability, although it was only 2 damage counters. Although again, it did have free retreat. We saw that the Ampharos from Dragons Exalted had this exact same ability, and it was 3 damage counters there, incidentally, although Ampharos did not have free retreat. And the thing is, when was the last time you saw Ampharos or Gengar or Jolteon being good and seeing lots of play? You didn't. So what's changed? What makes Galarian Cursola better? It's a basic Pokemon. You see, Gengar and Ampharos we just mentioned, they're stage 2 Pokemon, and their attacks kind of sucked. And Jolteon was a stage 1 Pokemon, the attack was alright, 90 damage for 2 energy, but you had to discard them both. It wasn't ideal. Whereas here, it's just a basic Pokemon. I mean, you can start with this going second and your opponent takes 3 damage counters on your first turn. That's kinda hilarious. Being a basic Pokemon makes this much, much better. Now, the other thing is, it is a psychic Pokemon, so don't forget about Horror Energy. Horror Energy is a psychic energy, but when it's attached to a psychic Pokemon that is damaged by an attack, you place 2 damage counters on that Pokemon. And this is where we start really missing Spell Tag. Because Horror Energy places damage, and when they attach an energy from their hand to their Pokemon, they take damage. And then Spell Tag, when they got KO'd, or when you got KO'd, they would take more damage. This is turning into a bit of a cheeky damage deck. But is it ever enough? So one of the best uses for this is against Welder. Welder basically is a card that is encouraging you to play free basic energy from your hand during your turn. And yes, this would work with Welder. You are attaching an energy from your hand. You might be attaching extra energy because... No, it's still Welder. You're still attaching from your hand, and that's what's going on here. And because you're attaching from your hand, that's how the ability activates. It would not activate with something like red and blue, for instance. Red and blue is not attaching energy from your hand. Red and blue is attaching energy from your deck, so that wouldn't work. It wouldn't work with anything like Colossal, which attaches energy from your discard pile. It has to be attached from your hand. But even if it's something like this or the Hydreigon we keep mentioning lately, that lets you attach as many darkness energy as you like from your hand during your turn, even though it's an ability, a trainer card, etc., you are still attaching energy from your hand, so it still activates. But let's take, for argument's sake, something like Reshiram and Charizard. Reshiram and Charizard, they're going to want 4 energy on. Okay, even if they attach all 4 of those energy, while you've got a Galarian Cursola active, that's still only 120. You're still 150 HP away from KOing them. Oh yeah, and they've also got that Outrage attack, so something with Outrage can actually plan this, so they're using your ability to power themselves up and get a KO. You're too far away. I mean, take something like Snorlax VMAX. Let's say Snorlax VMAX actually attaches all 4 energy separately from their hand. They take 120 damage. That's gigantic. They've still got 220 HP. I like this ability, but I don't really like this ability. You're not doing enough here. Not in the format we're in. Not with the level of HP we've got. If this was 50 damage per energy, or we had loads of extra attaching from the hand, then maybe. But no. I do incidentally like this as a hit and run Pokemon. So you take something like Hitmonchan that does 30 damage and then retreats to the bench, or switches to the bench. You put this active so your opponent takes 3 damage when they attach an energy, and then you've got an air balloon for free retreat, and round you go. But you don't generally use 2 prize Pokemon as blockers unless they're not getting KO'd. Like I've said, 190 HP, bad weakness. So you're going to attack with Hitmonchan, go to the bench, put Galarian Cursola active, and lose 2 prizes. But I do think it's best in a hit and run deck. Now as for the attack here, the attack is fine, but it's not phenomenal. 2 energy, 60 damage, and then you may place 3 damage counters on your opponent's bench Pokemon in any way you like. So you're carrying on the theme there that we've seen from the ability of just dropping extra damage down. But 3 damage counters and 60 damage isn't going to do it. I mean, let's say, for argument's sake, your opponent uses a welder and attaches 3 energy during their turn. And that's 90 damage. And then you hit for 60. And then you get to drop 3 damage counters. That's still only 180 damage. And that is your kind of best case scenario. And even then, your opponent's attaching energy, so they're choosing where that damage goes. And the 60 goes on the active, but the 3 damage counters have to go to the bench. So it's not like you can just drop this damage wherever you like. And what we have here is a Pokemon that's really good at getting lots of damage on the field, but not necessarily in the right place. Not necessarily all on the same Pokemon. In a format where we can all use stuff like Mallow and Lana to heal up quite nicely. And it's got low HP and a bad weakness. So I don't think it's going to stay around that much. Now, if this was a really difficult Pokemon to get off the field, and you were spreading around loads of damage in that regard, I'd be like, yes! Actually, yeah, that's cool. And I'd be all in favour, and I'd be all excited, and I'd be loving it. But that's not where we are, ladies and gentlemen. I don't think I like this card very much. I love the ability. I've always loved this ability. But I look at this and I don't know what matchups this is going to be great against. I don't know what I'm doing with this. And at the end of the day, Crobat V draws until you've got 6 cards in your hand. So having cards that discard from your hand, like Aurora Energy, is going to be really good with Crobat. And if you're playing an Aurora Energy, you put that and 1 more energy on a Crobat. And with the damage, the weakness, and the poison, that's 150 already. Without adding any extra damage or any of that on. I'm sorry. I'm still giving it 3 Watsies. There's still a lot of potential here. And I know I've talked it down, because of the weakness, because of the low HP. But the fact of the matter is, you can still put this in the active and drop a whole bunch of extra damage on your opponent when they attach energy. You're still doing damage while dropping damage counters. You're still dropping a bunch of energy down on the field, but I think this is a tech in an occasional deck, a Pokemon to have in your binder for the future, rather than one that I'm sitting here and trying to build a deck around like so many other Pokemon I've been talking about lately. But I'd like to know what you think. So let me know in the comment section. Go nuts, me nice. And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at the Wassy, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, or you can do exactly that. And please do make sure you're checking out youtube.com/WassyPlays, where you can find out about a whole bunch of games that don't have Pokemon in, but are pretty gosh darn good regardless. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.